stumble and fall, and each time there's a lesson involved. Got to be able to see my mistakes, saw time after time that same mistake I'll make, and too much idle time has already been.
Say of Yah, He is my refuge and my fortress, protects me from the wicked's deadly ordinance. Snakes master psychology, phony people studying fakeology. Yah seed, I'm a God, it's not ego. Psalms 82 verse 6, even JC know who be me. Lion face crew be deep, soldiers for Yah. Screw these streets in front like the heat goat. That's how I leap, waiting on the master. In the meantime, studying for my masters, building houses, growing college, sharpen my sword, and I'm cutting up scholars, raising my sons, searching for the wife. Yah, I pray he find a virtuous one, stand for justice, relieve the oppressed. Call on Yah, deliver the fatherless, let Israel be blessed.
Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. 'Cause every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me.
Yo, when the poor oppress the poor, it's like the sweeping rain, leaving no food, just pain. But Yah's name I exclaim, feed my brethren wisdom. Yah willing, He will do the same. Shame and calamity on my family, trapped in captivity. Many years ago, holding the calico, never know how my light glowed till I stepped through them 2 doors. Left church, cause that was just fool's gold. My eyes the color of onyx. Yah's message came to me as clear as you telephonically alerting me. He opened the scrolls and fed His word to me. Now I must give to those hope lost whose spirit is froze, the knowledge of how they conquer their foes. Enemies be hatred of self, something dangerous like this crack is wealth. Let's flee Babylon and let Yah be our help.
Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up. I'll be strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. 'Cause every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up. I'll be strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up. I'll be strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on Yah, I won't let up.
Praise the mighty Yah. Hallelujah. Yah is righteous. Yah is holy. And let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, another night, bringing to you His great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. My name is Mowreh IshYAH of the House of Israel, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1907 Vine Street, bringing to you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth, for Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. And this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YIsraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king. He's our judge. He's our lawgiver. And Yah is our only savior. And not just of Israel. Yah is the savior of the world. And I praise the mighty Yah for allowing us to come before you once again to bring to you his great, holy, and exalted words. Tonight, we will be dealing with or starting another series of things, 7 different things that Yahweh said he already did and he would do to deliver our people, to try our people in the midst of another nation. And we're going to read about that. But before we read about that, I want to just a couple updates. One, we will be dealing with our calendar or Yahweh's calendar this Thursday on the 5th day of the week on Debate Talk for You at 8 p.m. That is the calendar of the Most High. The only calendar that Yahweh has on Debate Talk for You. That's this Thursday at 8 p.m. And you can tune in right to our program as you're tuning in tonight because we will broadcast from here. So tell all your friends. Also, as many of you all know, this is the last night of our 40-night fast. We fasted 40 days, and now this is the last night of our 40-night fast. And I praise the mighty Yah for bringing us even to this night. We want to bless Yah for getting us through, even though this night is just really beginning and it's not over. But we praise Yahweh and bless Yahweh for getting us even to this night. And particularly and especially all those who made it all through the 40 days and made it through all the 40 nights. It takes great strength, fortitude, and commitment to Yahweh. But the goal was not just to make it through 40 days and 40 nights in terms of fasting. The goal is to loosen the bands of wickedness. And we're going to read that so you can understand what this fast really is all about. And let's look at that first. In the book of Isaiah 58. Because it is good that you entered into a covenant, a commitment with the Most High, and you've seen it all the way through. Because Yahweh said, a faithful man who can find. So Yahweh looking for somebody faithful to the things that they commit to. In the book of Isaiah 58, the 5th verse, is it such a fast that I've chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast and acceptable day to Yahweh? Is not this the fast that I've chosen? And the first thing he says is to loose the bands of wickedness. And you have to do that. You have to understand and see really how wicked you really are, how wicked your heart is. It's not enough that somebody tell you about your wickedness. You will have to see for yourself the bands of wickedness that's tied up in your own heart, in your own spirit, in your own soul. So I can understand why people didn't fast, couldn't complete their fast, because these bands are tight, they're strong, and they have a strong hold on our people. Number 2, it says to undo heavy burdens, because we all are burdened with things that can crush us, that can kill us, that can oppress us, and that brings great trouble, adversity, and harm to us. But if we are our brother keeper, then we will undo the heavy burdens. Number 3, and let the oppressed go free. Because we all have to come to the undeniable truth that really all of us are just servants of Yahweh. We're just servants. So why oppress anybody? The scripture says, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. And then 4, you break every yoke. This is what we have to do. This yoke of bondage, this yoke of slavery, this yoke of oppression, this yoke of despair that we have on one another. Number 5, is it not to deal your bread to the hungry? Number 6, that you bring the poor that are cast out of your house. Number 7, and when you see the naked, that you cover him. And don't hide yourself from your own flesh. What kind of person would do such a thing like that? Someone who is wicked. So this fast is for us to be better people, better servants, better Israelites. And if you still caught up in strife and debate and pointing the finger, then you still got work to do. Because these are the things that we should be loosening. And until you lose it, then you just a band of wickedness. And one of the reasons why we chose this week to deal with how Yahweh will deal with us in the midst of other people, because we are the only people on this earth that have been prophesied to be in the midst or in a land that is not ours, and that we will be afflicted, and that we will serve another people for 400 years. That has never been prophesied to happen to any other people whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, this has never happened in the annals of history, with the exception of this generation who could even talk and discuss in any kind of historical sense or biblical sense of our people being in a land, and particularly this land here, for 400 years. And no, they can't make this claim everywhere, because everywhere don't have the historical precedent that this place does. And so therefore, it's written in the fabric of this country and not just the scriptures. But what are these 400 years about? Well, they the same thing that we're going to be talking about. See, watch this in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. We're going to go there first. Deuteronomy 4. And watch what the Creator says. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, the 27th verse, 4 and 27. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and we are. And you shall be left few in number among the heathen, where Yahweh shall lead you. And there you shall serve idols, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. And this is the truth. Here it is. I see people wearing crosses with somebody hung on a cross. See pictures of a man hung on a cross. Sometimes it's out of wood, sometimes it's out of gold, sometimes it's out of silver. Sometimes it's just a picture. And if you ask them, the various people that will display this thing, you ask them, well, who is this? And they will say, my God. This is my God. Some might say, well, this is the Son of God, whom they believe is God. And this is what the Creator said. This is something that Yahweh said we will do. We will serve idols. These silver and gold and wooden idols, they can't see, they can't hear, they can't eat nor smell. But yet you call it a God. But if from there you shall seek Yahweh your Elohim, you shall find him, if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. And when you are in tribulation, and all these things have come upon you, even in the last days, if you turn to Yahweh your Elohim and shall be obedient to his voice, he will not forsake you, neither destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers which he swore to them. See, he won't do these things. And tribulation is coming. Even though many of our people don't really believe it, because many have prophesied and told you tribulation is coming. Things are coming to an end, and they didn't come to an end. Tribulation didn't happen, and the status quo happened. There was bad times, there was good times. There was bad times, and there was good times. So, just like the wolf crying sheep, or the boy calling wolf, but it never happens. But Yahweh is not like these idols. He's not like these preachers, ambassadors of hell, nor is he a part of these religions. And you'll see for yourself that what Yahweh has prophesied, Yahweh will do. Watch what it says. 32nd verse. For I ask none of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that Elohim created man upon the earth, and ask from one side of heaven to the other, whether there has been any such thing as this great thing is, or has been heard like it. And what is he talking about? And what's these two great things? Did ever a people hear the voice of Elohim speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? Have that ever happened in the annals of history, other than to Israelites? And the answer is no. Or has Elohim tried? And that don't mean tried in the sense of like Yahweh had to try something. No. Like you try out for a basketball team. No. Or has Elohim tried, which means tested, to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation? And these are the 7 ways he said he did this. By temptations is number 1. And that's why we're dealing with this first. By signs, by wonders, by war, by a mighty hand, by a stretched out arm, by great terrors, according to all that Yahweh your Elohim did for you in Egypt before your eyes. This is what Yahweh did in Egypt. This is what Yahweh did in the wilderness. This is what Yahweh did from the beginning of time. This is how he would test. These are the signs and the wonders that he would do. But he only did it with one people and one people only. And Yahweh will do this again. This is why it's important to know this. And the first thing that we're dealing with is by temptations. And what is temptations? No, it's not no singing group. The word temptations come from the Hebrew word masah, which means to be tested. And Yahweh is constantly testing his servants, constantly testing the righteous. And many of the people who only think they're righteous, they getting weary with the test. And as a result of getting weary with the test, you would just tell yourself you can't do it. Well, I can't do it. Well, it's just a test. If you were sitting in grade school and they put a test, but you hear kids all the time saying, I can't do it. Well, why can't you do it? My brother used to tell, one of my older brothers used to tell me, nothing beats a failure but a try. In other words, you at least got to try. But if you tell yourself you can't do something, you're not going to do it. And many of our people have told themselves, even before it began, they couldn't do it. And then once it began, they convinced themselves they can't keep doing it. They can't last. Even if it meant their life. And who knows whether this meant life or death or not. Because truly, it's a test. Temptations. That's what we're speaking about. You also read it in the book of Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. And let's see what the Creator said there. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, the 17th verse, because you just want to know how you should approach and stand before your Maker. Watch what it says. Deuteronomy 7. And we're going to start reading at the 17th verse. If you say in your heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispose of them? And of course, our people did say that, not realizing it was a test. That's all. It was just a test. Temptations. You should not be afraid of them, but well remember what Yahweh your Elohim did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt. And if you remember that, why would you be scared? Why would you fear? And why would you allow yourself to not be strong with Yahweh? Watch what it says. 19th verse. The great temptations which your eyes saw. Now, you didn't see it. You just read about it. But our fathers actually seen this thing. They seen what Yahweh did. But not just the temptations that Yahweh would do, which was the great tests. These are great tests. And the signs, and the wonders, and the mighty hand and the stretched out arm whereby Yahweh, your Elohim, brought you out. So shall Yahweh, your Elohim, do to all the people of whom you are afraid. In other words, Yahweh is not just, he's saying, look, this is how I took you out of Egypt. But this is how I'm going to take you into the land of your promise. The promise, the land that floweth with milk and honey. This is how I'm going to take you in. But you don't think you're going to be tested? Because Yahweh is looking for the real McCoy. He's looking for the strong. He's looking for those who really committed to this thing. And watch what he says. Deuteronomy 29. "40 days and 40 nights later, nobody dead, nobody hurt, nobody plagued with anything." And I'm talking about those who actually literally fasted. So no, this was not a proposition to kill anybody. This proposition was to give you life. And I'm going to show you that. Watch what it says. "These are the words of the covenant, which Yahweh commanded Moshe to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moshe called to all Israel and said to them, you have seen all that Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Egypt. To Pharaoh, you've seen that. And to all his servants. And to all his land." Our people seen that. And what's the first thing he says in the 3rd verse? The great temptations. In other words, the great test. Because that's all it is. That's all it was. Which your eyes have seen. The signs and those great miracles. And why did Yahweh do this? Watch this. "Yet Yahweh has not given you a heart to perceive." In other words, you didn't have a heart to understand what was actually going on, what Yahweh was doing. And eyes to see. You didn't see, you seen what happened, but you really didn't see what happened. And ears to hear unto this day. And I've led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes have not grown old upon you. Your shoe has not grown old upon your foot. You have not eaten bread, neither have you drunk wine or strong drink, that you might know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. So Yahweh, the first thing he wanted to do with us and his people is to test us with great tests that you think just naturally happen every day. That's because you had not came into a divine relationship with the Most High. And so you think certain things just happen. Yeah, with Kobe Bryant, that's just, the helicopter just happened to crash. That happens all the time. And it just happened. It's foggy all the time, and he just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was just a random occurrence. Was it? Is that what you really believe and think? That Yahweh just had random occurrences? Watch what it says. Also in the book of Psalms 95. Temptations. Yahweh will test his people. Yahweh is testing his people. And little do people know how this test actually look. So therefore, because your eyes are not open, your ears are shut, where you can't hear, and your mind cannot perceive. You're not looking beyond the very thing that's in front of your face. Therefore, you won't even consider what's going on. In the book of Psalms 95, this is what it says. We're going to start at the first verse. Oh, come, let us sing unto Yahweh. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving and make a joyful noise unto him with songs. For Yahweh is a great Elohim, a great king above all Elohims. In his hand are the deep places of the earth. The strength of the hills is his also. The sea is his, and he made it. His hands formed the dry land. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before Yahweh, our Maker. For he is our Elohim, and we are the people of his pasture, the sheep of his hand. Today, if you will hear his voice. And watch what Yahweh is saying if you hear his voice. Harden not your heart. And this is one of the reasons why we fasted. To seek meekness. To seek righteousness. So harden not your heart. As in the provocation. And as in the day of temptation. In the wilderness. When your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work. 40 years long was I grieved with this generation, and said, it is a people that do err in their heart, and they have not known my ways, to whom I swore in my wrath, that they should not enter into my rest. And why? And what was that test all about? Yahweh said 40 years long he was grieved with that generation. And what did they have to do? What did he want them to do? What was this test all about? Because as I stated, that's what the word temptation means. It means just a testing of Elohim. Let me show you how it turned into 40 years. So you can see what Yahweh is talking about. In the book of Numbers, the 13th chapter. And watch this. And we're going to start reading the first verse. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, send you men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Israel. Every tribe of their fathers shall you send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moshe, by the commandment of Yahweh, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were the heads of the children of Israel. See, these are the heads. A lot of people want to be the chief. A lot of people want to be the head. A lot of people want to be the leaders and the elders. But are they willing to do the real work? And I'm going to show you what Yahweh say about these leaders and elders. Watch this. And it named all the leaders, all the heads, by names. 16th verse. These are the names of the men which Moshe sent to spy out the land. And Moshe called Hoshea the son of Nun, Yehoshua. And Moshe sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said to them, get you up this way southward and go into the mountain and see the land what it is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they are strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it's good or bad, and what cities they have that they dwell in, whether it's tents or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it's fat or lean, whether there's wood therein or not. And be you of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rahab, as men coming to Hamath. And let me show you what happened. Let's keep reading. And they ascended by the south and came to Hebron, where Ahiman and Shishai and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. And they came to the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from there a branch with a cluster of grapes, and they bore between two upon a staff. And they brought other pomegranates and other figs. The place was called the brook of Eshcol, because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from there. And watch the 25th verse. And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. And why 40 days? We done brought this to you. We done showed you this. We done talked about this. And now we at the end of the 40 nights. 40 days and 40 nights. And they went and came to Moshe and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel to the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word to them, and to all the congregation showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came to the land where you sent us. Surely it flows with milk and honey. This is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people are strong that dwell in the land. The cities are walled and very great. Moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the south. The Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people because he began to see where this whole report was going. He started seeing and hearing that this report, it was going south. So he stilled the people before Moshe and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But watch what happens. But the men that went up with him said, we are not able to go up against these people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched to the children of Israel, saying, the land to which we have gone to search it is a land that eats up the inhabitants thereof, and all the peoples that we saw in it are men of great stature. I mean, they brought an evil report. And the evil report went all through the assembly. Now remember, they had seen the great temptations that Yahweh did in Egypt. They seen how he tested Pharaoh and the servants of Pharaoh and the land. They seen that, but they never understood it. And here it is today. We call the fast 40 days and 40 nights, so that you might see, that you might perceive, even so that you might even hear the word of Yahweh. And what did Yahweh want you to know? That your tribulation is arising. Your tribulation is fastly approaching. And what will you do when it comes? Did you humble yourself so that when Yahweh see you, that he will mark you and see the humility in your heart? Or would he see how wicked your heart really is? What do you want Yahweh to see? In the book of Numbers, the 14th chapter, this is what it says. First verse. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moshe and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said to them, would Elohim that we had died in the land of Egypt. Oh, I wish Elohim we had died in this wilderness. And why has Yahweh brought us to this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return into Egypt. This was all just a test. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Yehoshua, the son of Nun, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, tore their clothes. And they spoke to all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it, it is exceedingly good land. If Yahweh delights in us, then he will bring us into the land and give it us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel not you against Yahweh, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense has departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation has stoned them with stones. And the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. Now Yahweh, you got his attention. Because this was a test. And once we begin to understand the test of Yahweh, the temptations of Yahweh, the word of Yahweh, only then can we have this divine relationship with him. And I want to get right to the point. Watch this. In this same Numbers, the 14th chapter, '28th verse. Say to them, as truly as I live, says Yahweh, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness. And all that were number of you, according to your whole number from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me, doubtless you shall not come into the land, concerning which I swore to make you dwell therein, except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Yehoshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones, which you said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in the wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms, until your carcasses are wasted in the wilderness. After the number of days which you search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, you shall bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and you shall know my breach of promise. And our people so rebellious. Watch this. I want you to see how rebellious our people are. 36th verse. And the men which Moshe sent to search the land who returned, and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up a slander upon the land. And of course, Yahweh hates slander. And this is what our people do to one another. They slander one another. Even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague before Yahweh. But Yehoshua son of Nun, Caleb son of Jephunneh, which were the men that went to search the land, lived still. And Moshe told these things to all the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. And there rose up early in the morning, and got them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Behold, we are here, and we will go up to the place which Yahweh has promised, for we have sinned. And Moshe said, Why now do you transgress the commandment of Yahweh? But it shall not prosper. In other words, when I told you to go up and spy out the land and fight, you wouldn't do it. Now I'm telling you, don't go up. But that's what you want to do. It's like a little kid. You tell them, don't touch that. Don't jump. Don't get close to that rail. Then they get close to the rail, they jump, and they touch it. Just because you said don't. But if you got them by the arm and say, jump, jump, they're going to cry and scream and because they don't want to jump. But you telling them to jump. Go ahead and touch it. And they're going to run and scared and cry. But you're telling them to touch it. And this is how our people are. A rebel. Watch the 42nd verse. Go not up, for Yahweh is not among you, that you be not smitten before your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you are turned away from Yahweh. Therefore, Yahweh will not be with you. And that's why when you go into any place, such as your fast, if you didn't take Yahweh with you, how can you overcome your lust, your weaknesses? You didn't take Yahweh with you. What, you just thought you was going to will yourself through? No, that's not how this works. You got to take Yahweh with you. No wonder you didn't overcome some of the bands of wickedness that's tied up in your heart. And you're still gossiping. You're still talebearing. You're still slandering. You're still pointing a finger because you didn't take Yahweh with you. This is and have always been about Yahweh. But they presume to go up to the hilltop. In other words, even though Moses told them Yahweh is not going to be with you, they still went. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and Moshe departed not out of the camp. Then the Amalekites came down. The Canaanites was dwelt in that hill and smote them. In other words, killed them and discomfited them, even to Hormah. And somebody asks, what do it mean by you're going to bear the iniquities of your fathers? In other words, just because of your fathers, now their children had to live in the wilderness 40 years. Because of what the adults did. 20 years old and above. Now they got to live somewhere where they don't want to live. They got to deal with scorpions and serpents and drought. I mean, they were in a desert. Because of what their fathers did. And Yahweh will do this. Temptations. That's what we're talking about. We don't realize all this was a test. Yahweh wanted to see, did you see the wisdom in doing such a thing? Your father seen the wisdom. We gave the scriptures to show you the wisdom. We even showed you why they would do this thing. And it still wasn't enough. The word of Yahweh still did not will you to do what is written. But what will you through the tribulation that is prophesied to come? What's going to will you through that? In the book of Exodus 17, the very first verse. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys according to the commandment of Yahweh, and pitched in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. And why? If Yahweh wanted them to have water there, he would have had water there. But all this was a test. All the adversity we go through, we don't realize these are tests. These are temptations to see what you're going to do. Therefore, the people did strive with Moses. You mean tell me it's Moses' fault because it wasn't no water? Why are you striving with Moses? Because that's what people do. They point the finger and said, give us water that we may drink. And Moshe said to them, why strive with me? And why do you tempt Yahweh? Because at the end of the day, Yahweh hear this. Just like he heard all the complaining, he heard all the lies, he heard all the naysayers, he heard it all. He heard the striving with the people who even called the fast. Yeah, Yahweh heard it. And what you striving with us for? This was voluntary anyway. And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moshe and said, why is this that you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moshe cried unto Yahweh, saying, what shall I do unto this people? They are almost ready to stone me. And Yahweh said to Moshe, go on before the people and take with you the elders of Israel and your rod with which you smote the river, take in your hand and go. Behold, I will stand before you there upon the rock in Horeb, and you shall smite the rock. And remember, this happened twice. The first time he told Moses to smite the rock. The second time he told Moses to speak to the rock. And Moses failed. Because the second time he did what he did the first time. Behold, I will stand before you there upon a rock in Horeb, and you shall smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah, which means temptations, and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel. In other words, Meribah means to strive. Massah means to test. Because they tempted Yahweh, saying, is Yahweh among us or not? How you going to test Yahweh? Well, Yahweh give us something to drink. Is you going to give us something? Well, you testing Yahweh. And what did Yahweh do? He gave you something to drink. Even though our people didn't deserve anything to drink. And see, today, our people think if they complain today, if they point the finger today, if they strive today, that's how things get done. See, if I just keep my mouth shut, ain't nothing gonna get done. So I got to say something. And I got to tell it like I feel, like I gotta let them know how I feel. That's when things get done. And no. While you telling it like you feel, Yahweh hear all those complaints. He hear all that striving and the murmuring. It is being recorded as we speak. Because you don't realize this was just a test anyway. Just to see what was in your heart. And this thing we just haven't learned. We thought it was about food. This wasn't about food at all. This was about your heart. The instrument that Yahweh used was food. But it wasn't about that. Watch what it says in the book of Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. Now after tonight, since it wasn't about food, now will you go back and be the same lustful fools that you've been before you enter into this fast with Yahweh? Or did you learn something in those 40 days, in those 40 nights? Did you learn anything? Watch what it says, Deuteronomy 8. The first verse. All the commandments which I command you this day shall you observe to do, that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh swore unto your fathers. And you shall remember all the way which Yahweh your Elohim led you these 40 years in the wilderness. See, you're supposed to remember this thing. And why? Because he did this to humble you, to prove you, which means to test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or no. And he humbled you and allowed you to hunger, fed you with manna, which you knew not, and since you didn't know it, you hated on the manna. What is this? What is this? You know how somebody asks you to taste something, they done cook something, right? And they ask you to taste it, and you frown your face like, what is this? What is this stuff? What is this S-H-I-T? What is this? Yeah, that's what our people were saying. Manna, what is it? This mess they feeding me. What is this came out of heaven? Well, it was angel food. Neither did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread only, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh does man live. And that's what we were giving you. What thus says Yahweh. And we're telling you this was just a test. That's all. It was just a test. And Yahweh got more tests coming. That's not the only test that Yahweh will give you. But that was one of his great temptations. See, in the book of Isaiah 43, let me show you that. Watch what the Creator says. Isaiah 43. See, he want to know whether you with him or not. He want to know, do you believe in him or not? He wants to know, do you trust him or not? And he know all this talk. You're not trusting nobody. You think Yahweh don't know the difference between your mouth and your heart? Sure he know the difference. He know many of our people are just lip service. Sure they praise him with their mouth, call upon him with their lips, but their heart is far from him. In the book of Isaiah 43 and 1, but now thus says Yahweh that created you, O Yaakov, and he that formed you, O Yisrael, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. And see, this is simple instructions. Fear not. But watch when the tribulation comes. And watch the type of fear you're going to see. The Almighty prophesied it already. It's called Jacob's trouble. And he said, you're going to fear. You're going to be in pain as a woman in travail. But watch this. Second verse. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. In other words, that's what's got to happen. That's what happened in the past. It has to happen again. Because Yahweh going to test to see if you're afraid of the waters. We have people, I never get on a boat again. Well, why not? Your ancestors got on a boat. Why you won't get on a boat? No, man, I'm not getting on no boat again. I remember the first time we got on the boat. So what? What you fearing for? I'll never fly. Look what happened to Kobe Bryant. I'll never fly in a helicopter. I'll never fly in a plane. It ain't made for man. What are you fearing for? And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. And when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burnt. Neither shall the flame kindle upon you, because you're going to go through the fire. You're going to, the water will attempt to overflow you. You're going to have to pass through the waters. In other words, you're going to go through tribulation. But are you going to fear it? Because it's just a test. Third verse. For I am Yahweh your Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for you, since you were precious in my sight. You have been honorable, and I loved you. Therefore will I give men for you and people for your life. You don't even realize that a lot of people that's died, and that's only because your perception of this thing is all out of course. You don't even realize that some people who die, they die for you. In other words, they're not dying for your sins. But their death is for you to open up your eyes, for you to unstop your ears, so you can wake up and see what's actually going on. So you can consider. And a lot of times we don't even want to consider. Even though Yahweh said he will give men for us and people for your life. This is all a test. Great test. But it's nothing that you have to fear. But these tests is everything about your life. Because Yahweh is judging to see what's in your heart. That's what he's looking to see. And for the most part, in many respects, all it takes is 40 days and 40 nights. One of Yahweh's divine great tests. And you thought this just was some slick little thing that somebody would do. Why would somebody do this? Just go without eating. Afflict themselves. To what end? Well, the same reason Moses did it. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 9th chapter. And watch what it says. And I know every time there's a naysayer, somebody who would show you that they don't have a clue. All you got to do is show them this. And tell them this. Watch what it says. Deuteronomy 9th chapter. 16th verse. We'll start at the 15th verse. So I turned and came down from the mount, and the mount burnt with fire, and the 2 tables of the covenant were in my 2 hands. And I looked, and behold, you have sinned against Yahweh your Elohim, and made you a molten calf, and you had turned aside quickly out of the way which Yahweh had commanded you. How quick did they do it? Yeah, 40 days, that's all it took. A month and 10 days. And I fell down before Yahweh as at the first 40 days, because he did it twice. And 40 nights. I did neither eat bread nor drink water because of all your sins which you sinned, and doing wickedly in the sight of Yahweh to provoke him to anger. And what the naysayers are saying is we don't care what Moses did for us, even though they the ones who sinned. Because why would you go without eating bread and drinking water for 40 days and 40 nights? What kind of sense do that make? Where did Yahweh say do such a thing? Well, where did Yahweh tell Moses to do it? But yet Moses did it. Where did Moses break his fast? Well, he didn't. Because he wasn't just doing it for himself. And that's our problem. We think it's just about us. Well, what about your children? Why couldn't you fast for them? What about the people you love? Why couldn't you do it for them? What about the people who can't do it? Why couldn't you do it for them? Where do your heart lie? Do your heart just lie with yourself? That all you can do is think about self? Man, I got to eat, I got to drink. Don't you know how wicked the heart is? You can't stop pointing a finger for 40 days and 40 nights. You can't stop striving. Well, you're not alone, because our people couldn't either. They couldn't either, except for a remnant. The 19th verse. For I was afraid of the anger and hot displeasure with which Yahweh was angry against you to destroy you. But Yahweh listened to me at that time. And you don't think Yahweh angry with our people today? You don't think he's angry with the inhabitants of the earth today? You don't think the earth is devoured with a curse today? Well, undoubtedly, you don't think so. Because ask yourself, what did you do? Was it anything like Moses? Was it anything like Elijah? Was it anything like the people of Nineveh? What did you do? Temptations, that's what we're talking about. Masa, which just means to test, a divine test of Yahweh. And we in the last night of this test to see it all the way through. To help us to overcome, to lose these bands, to undo these burdens. This is what this is all about. It's not just about you, but what about the people who's watching you, looking at you, following you? What about the people who see you and hear you? So I can understand when you make it about you, why you will fail. And why you won't humble yourself. But we serve a merciful Elohim. And it's a great blessing that we serve a merciful Elohim, because we all will be dead. And his mercy endure forever. Temptations, that's what we were speaking about. As I stated before, this last night, we will let the people know what we will do to commemorate these 40 days and 40 nights. And we'll do it together. And we're going to let you know exactly what we will do and when we will do it. But until we do it together, one thing that I want to let everybody know that they need to do, even at this time, whether you fasted or not, is to pray and to seek the Most High and to thank the Most High for His great mercies. To call upon thy Maker and to show Him how much you really, indeed, love Him. Do what your heart is telling you not to do. And that's in the book of Psalms. And let me show you this. Psalms 50. Psalms 50 and 5. It says, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. That's why I said after the night, you just can't go back the way you came. Remember what Yahweh said. Man don't live by bread only, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of Yah does man live. So make the word of Yahweh your living, your life. Choose life. Reject death. And continue to make your sacrifice to Yahweh. And why? The 6th verse. And the heavens shall declare his righteousness. Talking about your righteousness. For Elohim has judged himself. Selah. For you only got one judge. That judge is
90 seconds.
Yahweh. That's who your judge is. Don't worry about somebody pointing a finger at you and telling you you ain't this and telling you you ain't that and making false accusations against you when you know you have done nothing wrong. What you fearing that for? Don't fear that. It's just a test anyway. Telling you you ain't nothing. Telling you
60
you
seconds.
brainwashed. Telling you you just following people. Telling you just. You can buy into it. You can believe it. But ask yourself, do you honestly believe that will benefit you to believe people who will burden you with their words, who will persecute you and oppress you with their thoughts and their mind, and who will slander you and speak wickedly to you? No, you don't have to believe that. You don't even have to fear it. You just look them straight in the eyes.
10 seconds.
And you praise Yahweh. Because Yahweh is Elohim. And He is your judge Himself. And no one else. That's who your judge is. Open up your eyes. Unstop your ears so you can see the temptations of Yahweh. So until tomorrow, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Oh, how I was downtrodden and trouble with the fainted heart, and so low in my spirit. But I know someone who was gonna walk with you. Open up your gates and let them come on through. Ooh, yeah. Trust in Yah and He will pull you through. If you just trust in Yah and watch Him pull you through. If you just trust in Yah and watch Him pull you through. If you just trust in Yah and watch Him pull you through. So many trials we face in our time on this earth, but my shield and my buckler strengthens me to go further. I commit myself to delight in the Father's will. I stand out all alone, but my faith is strong. But I know someone who is gonna walk with you. Open up your gates and let them come on through. Ooh, yeah. If you just trust, if you just trust, if you just trust. Oh, give the praise to the Most High, who dwelleth in the heavens and the sky, yeah. Truth and righteousness is to be chose. Wisdom over silver and the gold, yeah. Raise my hands up to the E. The ending of a perfect man is peace, yeah. I know someone who will walk with you. Open up your gates and let them come on through, yeah. Well, I have seen the past and have felt the cold. Oh, I am young and will grow to be old. Yet have I never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. Trust in Yah and He will pull you through. If you just trust in Yah and He will pull you through. If you just trust in Yah and He will pull you through. If you just trust in Yah and He will pull you through. Cause I know someone who was gonna walk with you. Open up your gates and let them come on through.